Welcome to Sharon Michelle's Holiday Special Channel Session. This channel session was conducted on December 22nd, 2020 in the state of Texas, USA. At this time of year, Sharon likes to look ahead several months into the upcoming year to give us a sense of what we can expect to see. After listening to this, our latest session, we think you'll be optimistic about 2021. Both Sharon and I are grateful for all of you who have subscribed to CryptoVision. We truly believe that you, our subscribers, are unique, spiritually minded people that have come to understand that the other side is not only alive, but is also active in our world today. And now here's Sharon and her guides.
They're showing me like army soldiers getting into position, not fighting yet, just getting into position. But they're wearing clothes like they wore in the 1800s, as far as their uniforms go. Clothes like the Northern Army. And the interesting thing is the enemy, they look definitely Chinese or Asian, but they're not in military uniforms. They look just like working people.
Where do you get the feeling that this is taking place?
Where?
How does it feel like it's in China?
No, it's here. It's like these military people are lined up along our borders, ready to advance, ready to fight if deemed necessary and given the order.
So you say they're wearing like frontier clothes, or they're not in...
No, not frontier clothes, like army in the 1800s. The blue uniforms. Some are on horseback, some are on foot. I'm sure they're showing me a symbolic army, but that's all along these lines that have been drawn that they cannot let anything pass. But those they're fighting against are not wearing military uniforms. They are wearing regular, what look to be civilian clothes. They are no match for this military movement that has lined up ready to fight and protect the nation.
If I say the word militia, does that ring a bell? A militia army?
These are trained military in uniform, in formation, ready to go, ready to fight, being held back, waiting for some event. Those they will be fighting against are not trained military per se. They are in civilian clothing and are not as structured, not as prepared, not as formidable as is this army gathering to protect our homeland.
And you said that they look Asian?
They look Asian in maybe civilian clothes like Asians would have worn in the 1800s. They are being pushed back.
Sort of harkens back to the mid-1800s under Lincoln.
As far as the clothing of the military and the Asians. But it's not like a civil war that was fought back then. More like an invasion of workers, civilians, or appearing to be civilians. They are many, but are not as organized or as driven as is the Union Army that is preparing to protect their homeland and use as much force as needed to drive these people back.
Well, tonight
They are big in numbers, the enemy, but not in ferocity. We see the Union Army succeeding in driving them back.
Well, tonight we're going to talk about 2021, and the biggest thing on people's minds, of course, is what President Trump will or will not do. Does Spirit see President Trump giving up and seceding to Biden at this time?
He has considered it. He has thought, why do I need to put myself through this constant battle with these people? But he is also stubborn and not a quitter, and believes that he can win out. We do not see him stepping back, but rather becoming more determined, using more force, which he has been reluctant to do in the past.
Some remote viewers saw President Trump making a nationwide Oval Office address to the nation, speaking of what he is going to do.
He will do more than one of these in the upcoming time frames.
In the past, Spirit talked like he may invoke the Insurrection Act, which is not martial law, but is the Insurrection Act. Is that something he plans on using in the future?
He sees it as a last resort, but he will use it if necessary. If he sees there is no other way, then he will use it. At this time, he is still a bit reluctant. He is prepared. He does know this may be a necessity. He is hoping to gain order and positive change in this nation without utilizing this act. But he is fully prepared to do so if he sees there is no other way.
Is Trump planning on declassifying a bunch of classified information which would expose a lot of the crooks and dealings that have been going on? Will he do that shortly?
We see like the tide is turning. Once he does this, there will be no end of information coming out. It will be so much, so scandalous in many instances that the media will be forced to report upon it.
So it sounds like that's a yes? He
Yes.
will be releasing? Okay.
Once it starts, it will not stop. It will be like a river rushing over the land and cleansing it.
What's the thing that is going to happen between now and January when it comes to this whole election and presidential Trump situation? What's the next
There
big
will
thing?
be votes being returned, removed, reversed. You will see this beginning to happen very quickly. Again, there will be so much coming out. It is like a river that has become unstoppable in its spreading and moving throughout the land. A river of information. Many people will fall, many institutions will have to be remanded in order to survive. The amount of information coming out that has been hidden and secreted away is overwhelming.
Will Trump end up pardoning Julian Assange at some point?
He is already considering. So yes, we believe he will.
So at this stage, does Spirit still see a Trump victory and a re-inauguration in January 20th of Trump?
We see Trump not leaving. It is more of a formality than a new beginning. We see him holding steadfast, not leaving and claiming victory.
One of the things that has been puzzling people has been the fact that Spirit has endured to bring the United States through this crisis, but at the same time, Trump and his administration have been promoting this vaccine, which is causing harm already. What's going on with this vaccine, which we know, as Spirit has said, would be dangerous and has told us, recommended to us not to take? Why is Trump promoting this vaccine?
He is doing so reluctantly. He has been advised that it can help. He is willing to give it a chance and see what happens. We would not say he is promoting it as much as we would say he is making it available to those who wish to have a vaccine and believe it will help. He has many doubts about it himself, but he also understands that many believe there has to be a medical answer, and a vaccine is one way to go. He is fully aware it is not the only way to go.
At some point, will the vaccines be delayed or stopped due to the harm that they're causing?
No, we do not see that they will be stopped. We see there will be additional testing, additional research. It is not a completely done deal.
Were these vaccines being made with the intent to cause harm?
We would say that depends on how you would define harm. We see it as more of a way of controlling people.
So were these designed to just make money off the population and control through multiple vaccines and shutdowns and viruses? Is this part of a scam that was perpetrated upon the American people and the world?
We would not say exactly a scam, but more of a mishandling, misdiagnosis of the issues to be resolved. Many in positions of authority panicking from lack of understanding, and those in positions of pushing the vaccines. As far as working to control the disease and prevent its spread, it's not really working the way they anticipated.
Well, my question is this whole vaccine shutdowns, COVID-19 hysteria, is this part of the Great Reset plan to shut everybody up, force them to
It
wear?
is a tool to control and quiet the people, make them more subservient to the globalist agenda.
Will this agenda fail?
It must fail.
Will it?
We believe so.
As people start to wake up to the dangers of this vaccine, will there be a groundswell of people that decide not to take it or will refuse?
There will be a majority of people who will refuse.
Will that be part of the, will that cause this reset plan to falter when people refuse to go along with the shutdowns and
They will
vaccines?
go along with many things the New World Order has planned.
Does Trump plan on resisting this Great Reset New World Order plan?
We would say yes, as much as possible. It's an alternative to resolve many of the issues facing the nations, not just yours, but others as well.
Are those economic issues primarily?
Not just economic. Economic is only one part, but this must be slowed down to a certain extent from the direction it has been moving into.
Well, let's focus.
There are many who are looking at new ways to stimulate the economies of the world and the monetary systems in a way that is more fair and abolishing the old systems along with those who controlled those old systems. Many of them will crash along with those economic crashes. They think they are above the majority of the population because they have more wealth. They will find that this will be stripped from them in the future in a different system, more fair, more universal, will come into play, but the people do.
Well, let's look ahead in January of 2021. What's a major event that will take place in January? What's the main thing, the main theme of January?
We see much new hope, inspiration, gather with more hope for the future, seeing that their efforts have paid off.
Is this concerning the government and the attempted soft coup of the Chinese and the Democrats?
We see those people dethroned. Many in positions of power will fall, will be exposed, and will be removed, with new, more patriotic leaders coming forward to fill their shoes.
How is China going to react to this, another Trump presidency? What is China planning on doing? Will they do something rash? Will they lash out?
As we have said before, China has sought to influence and take over by putting their puppets into play. This is their strategy. They are not truly in a position to go into all-out war. They have much to lose themselves, much more than your people have to lose by fighting back, fighting against them. We see when your patriots come out full force, they will slink away back where they came from. For the need is for them to rebuild within, not to spread outward. We see them losing much of their power and their abilities as their strategies are exposed and their puppets are exposed. They are slinking away. We do not see a world war taking place with China.
Yeah, Spirit has said they'll have their own internal problems and
the need
possible revolution themselves.
Yes, the need is for them to rebuild their structure within instead of extending their power and influence outward and battling other nations for supremacy. Their own nation is on the verge of collapse and must be rebuilt. Many changes need to be made.
Now, the U.S. was hacked severely, and I guess the hack continues. Many are saying that this was Russia that hacked the U.S.
No.
Was this China again?
We see China, maybe others working together with China. We do not see so much that Russia was involved. Russia may have also received information, but They are not the instigator of the issues.
Will the U.S. retaliate in some way over this cyber attack, which is considered an act of war?
They will, but not in the way that many hope for. Not in the way of all-out war. Maybe in the way of further corrections to protect our systems and make changes, making the information received invalid, no longer working.
Sanctions against China?
Sanctions, this type of behavior, but not more of a protectionist stance against China, not as inclusive as they have been in the past, not as welcoming, definitely sanctions, which will cause even greater problems in China, and new laws will be passed governing trade with other countries, moving in the same direction as it has been, only more fully enforced. We see many companies, because of the laws, bringing business jobs, more self-sufficiency here at home.
When Trump is reelected, does Spirit see a lot of senators or congressmen retiring and leaving? Will there be a house cleaning in the government?
There will be many who will step down because they do not wish to be exposed for all that they have done against this nation. So many will step down rather than be embarrassed publicly.
Well, let's look at February now, 2021, February. What major event or major thing happens in February?
We see masses of people very excited, surprised but excited, and saying, look, you have to hear this. Big news that the majority of people will welcome.
What type of news?
And we see something that is being taken down, something very powerful. We see it collapsing.
Would it be government related?
Government related, but in something that is institutional in a way. We also see a leader of another country. The leader and his government simultaneously are collapsing, and the people winning. Government is collapsing, but the people are winning.
Does it feel like it's in Europe somewhere, or in the East or Middle
more
East?
Like maybe the Middle East. You see large structures imploding, taken down. The structure indicates the government or represents the government in some way, collapsing in upon itself, and the people chanting and very excited, feeling freer than they have for many, many years. Definitely a tyrannical government in power.
Okay, let's move over to March, the month following, March 2021.
A lot of movement, people moving, going places. Not like a lockdown, but more freedom of movement. Travel restrictions being reduced. More freedom of movement everywhere. In the cities, in the states, between countries even. Much more freedom of movement. People looking forward to more growth in the future. They don't seem to be so worried about the pandemic anymore. They just want to say the truth is coming out, and people are hearing it and buying it.
Okay, let's move into April 2021.
Some kind of a slump, things going down, has many people concerned. Markets falling a little, and we see scarcity, maybe with food or supplies that are needed, more fear in general, and uncertainty. But we see this as being only temporary.
Okay, and finally we'll go into May of 2021.
Things are beginning to get back to normal again. People are happy going about their lives and their plans more calmly, not in fear, not overly excited like in previous months, but breathing more easily and calmly, like things are finally going back to normal. There is still an undercurrent by leaders that have taken advantage of their positions in the past. They're doing things very sneakily. They think under the radar to try to sneak back by hook or crook into their former lives. We don't see them succeeding. We see a further crackdown on these individuals.
Do you still see people wearing masks and social distancing and all that by May? Is that starting to go away as well?
We see some people will continue to do so, for they refuse to believe the new information coming out. But we see many people just forgetting to wear them, refusing to wear them. And we see the enforcement, the penalties are being removed. And people are going back to regular life, work, and leisure.
One of our contributors, his name is Val, he's asking about the Great Reset program in Canada. He's asking, will it succeed? Will people there be forced to take the vaccine, and will they succeed in turning Canada into a communist new?
We do not see them succeeding.
Okay.
There are many there who will resist, just as there are in your country, as they see your people rising up and demanding changes. They will be encouraged to do the same in their country. For as in both countries, there is only a small percentage that wish to see the nations. They cannot enforce it if the people refuse. All of you must remember this. If you refuse en masse, they cannot force you.
Joseph was asking about the... Do you have more? Okay. Joseph, one of our contributors, is asking about the nurse in Tennessee that passed out. Her name is Tiffany Dover. Can we focus on Tiffany Dover for a moment?
We see she is having some kind of problems. Possibly could be said she has some type of a seizure problems that are happening.
Is she still alive?
Yes, she's still alive, but she is struggling.
So she's had an allergic reaction or a bad reaction to it?
We would say very bad.
Will
we
she
see her battling.
Does Spirit see her passing away because of this vaccine reaction?
We do not see this happening, but we see her almost wishing that would be better than what she is going to be dealing with. It is changing her life, not for the better.
Shelby Hurd is asking about this winter solstice, this planetary conjunction. Can we, Spirit, tell us a little more about summer? We're entering Aquarius. I think we've been going into Aquarius for a while, but...
We have been going into it for a very long time.
Does this solstice with this alignment mark a special energy time? Many people are feeling these energies right now.
We would say it is a time of reckoning, would be a good word to describe what is happening. It is time when many people will have to make a judgment on what kind of life they want to live in the future and make changes accordingly. A time of major change for sure.
Many are feeling, as I did, anxious, despondent, depressed. Would this be a normal feeling for these energies that are coming through?
Not necessarily. The energies, it's just the combination of the energy and their positions in the heavens that determined how the energy is experienced. We say to look within. Have you learned the lessons your life has shown you thus far? And based upon what you have learned and experienced, which direction are you going to go in now? It is a turning point where all will have to make this choice for themselves in their own environments. Which changes are they going to accept? For this is the beginning of the change.
Would part of that bring up to the emotionally and spiritually, would they start to bring up energy that needs to be processed? So if we're feeling sad or down, perhaps that's coming up to be processed?
Yes, there are many who have been feeling the group emotion of sadness and disappointment and the realization that life is changing. The world they know is changing and in a direction perhaps they do not like. Again, this is a catalyst for them to decide which reality is going to be theirs in the future. And they must choose that reality that is for their own highest good and seek to be in alignment with that. This is not speaking of being selfish, for if you're in alignment with your own highest good and a spiritual way of speaking, then you are also in alignment with that of all the others doing the same. And that joint alignment can propel you into the new age of enlightenment. But the majority of peoples must be of one mind, that this is what they desire, to be in alignment with their highest good and usher in this new age with this energy of highest good for all.
Yeah, it's ironic. We want change, but at the same time, when change happens, we get nervous and we get to feeling uncomfortable.
That's why instead of focusing on the change itself and how to bring about the change, focus on being in alignment with the highest good. Then the change that is created is the one for your highest good. And it can happen very quickly and almost magically.
Before, if you have a question as to what the best course of action to do in any particular thing, all you have to do is ask which path is the loving path, which one is a loving way, and that would generally bring you onto the right decision.
Not necessarily. It depends on what you consider loving.
Well, that would be true.
You're still making a judgment call.
So how would we know to take the path,
when you
the best
align
path?
with your highest good, only one path is open for travel. The ones not for your highest good are closed to you. So remember this when you are pushing towards a specific path and you seem to be reaching obstacles at every turn, then most likely this is not the correct path. When you seek to align yourself with the highest good, the path comes to you. You don't choose the path. The path and the way comes to you, and it unfolds in front of you as it opens up. making the way clear. If you are in alignment at all times, the wrong path will always be closed to you and blocked. You must trust in Spirit to guide you and request that you be guided only to that path that is for your highest good. And you will know and be guided and pulled and sometimes even pushed toward that path.
Well, people who tend to take the path of least resistance will appreciate that.
It only works if you are in complete alignment with your highest good, your highest path, on your highest path towards Spirit, and complete alignment with Spirit.
Now, Pip made a comment here about this new COVID-19 variant. Apparently they're saying now that it's mutated into a new strain which is spreading.
It is not that different. It is a normal mutation to be feared no more than the previous one at this time.
So all these new lockdowns, restrictions, and paranoia over this new second wave, they're calling it.
For the most part, they are pointless.
Okay, now Spirit talked that there would be 3 waves. We're seeing now there was talk of a second wave earlier, but now we see where they're claiming this second wave is spreading. And
the
then
second wave is not the one that they planned for. That one has been abolished or diverted somehow.
perhaps they were planning on releasing some new virus that was shut down.
There has been too much resistance to this, so they have chosen not to. This new strain is a normal modification that takes place naturally and should be feared no more than the previous one.
Now, in times past and readings past, Spirit talked like there would be a second wave that would be more deadlier, that would be...
As we have just said, this plan was abolished.
Oh, okay.
There was too much resistance and disagreement, and it was decided not to go in that direction after all. We can only tell you the intent at the time. The intent at the time was for a deadlier virus. That is no longer the intent.
And the third wave, Spirit talked like there'd be possibly a third wave sometime in 2021 that would be less deadly or less virulent.
It is less. Even this second one is less virulent than the first. It is just modified somewhat where it affects many that it did not affect negatively previously. But we don't see it being as severe.
Now, right now, the vaccine companies have immunity to lawsuits. Will they be held accountable for the damage that they're doing with these vaccines as they harm people? Will Trump change the law or push to change the laws that make him accountable?
As it stands now, no, they will not be made accountable. In the future, we do see laws being changed to where they can be held responsible. Not just for these vaccines, but for others as well. We see many changes in the future regarding the pharmaceutical industry. Changes that they will not necessarily like, but will have to abide by. There have been some already that they are unhappy with, but there will be many more in the future. It is only fair that they be held accountable for the poisons they put into people's bodies.
We see where President Trump is vetoing this latest stimulus bill. And Collins Lee made a comment that there was some wording in there that would restrict President Trump from enacting the Insurrection Act. Is that the only reason why Trump is vetoing the stimulus bill?
No, it is not the only reason. He genuinely feels it is not enough and too much is allocated indirect, not for the American people. We see him considering some kind of an emergency order. He does without the House involved to help the people.
Okay, well, let's move over to cryptos then. Let's look at January for the crypto market. Let's focus in on January 2021.
We see overall rises in the crypto market in January. Some cryptos rising much more than others, but most cryptos rising somewhat during January and into February and March.
Will the crypto market drop when all this evidence of voter fraud comes out and Trump is reelected? Will that negatively affect the crypto market?
No, we see it positively affecting it, if anything.
We want to thank Joseph for that question. So you mentioned that January and February and possibly March, the crypto market will be pretty strong.
Yes. Towards the very end of March, you may start to see a decline
That's about
for a few weeks, but we do not see it lasting more than maybe 30 days or so.
That's about the same time there might be some volatility in the economy and the stock market and the markets. I think that was April.
We see things dropping, yes, but afterwards they begin to rise again.
Going into May.
Yes.
Okay. One of the cryptos that some remote viewers and other prognosticators have pointed to as having a sharp rise in the next 30 days is XRP Ripple. However, XRP is currently dropping because of talk about the SEC and a possible suit with XRP. So Abby is asking, can we look at XRP?
We see a
closer?
temporary drop, but overall we see a big rise coming. This talk may be depressing it momentarily, but we do not see.
So is there a lawsuit coming, or is that just something that never materializes?
We see it doesn't really come too much.
So once it comes out of this little period of uncertainty, then it should take off?
It should rise.
Okay. That goes along with some other people that have tapped into the future and saw a very large rise for XRP. So Spirit is saying that we should see that rise then. It should go.
Yes, we do.
Okay. Bitcoin Cash. Now, Spirit talked like there was some problems on this split. Can we focus on Bitcoin Cash and see if they overcome these problems? And see what the rise is in Bitcoin Cash, if any?
We see Bitcoin Cash rising after the split, but it's moving in a different direction than the original plan.
Okay, so Starry Sky is asking, is it going to drop to the 6,000 or 7,000? Is it going to drop some more? From the charts, it looks like it's rising.
You're talking about Bitcoin Cash?
Yes, Bitcoin Cash. Right now it's on an uptrend, a small uptrend, but what do we see for Bitcoin Cash with this situation?
We see it continuing to rise.
Now you were saying in a different direction. What can you clarify that?
It's like the direction it's been going in is a straight line. Then they have a fork, and instead of continuing the straight line, it moves into the fork, and the fork sees most of the growth.
Okay, so Bitcoin Cash hasn't been going in a straight line. It's been
No, that's not what we said. We said It's like it has a path.
Mm-hmm.
It's going in a particular direction. Then the road forks. It takes that fork rather than the original path. That has nothing to do with going up or down.
Oh, I see. You're saying metaphorically it takes the path that was unexpected.
Of the new fork.
Makes it go up?
Does it make it rise in value? Yes, it actually makes it stronger.
Okay. Are they working out these problems they had before with the Spirit Talk, like they were having an issue with software or some kind of a...
With the original path.
Technical issue?
With the original path.
Hmm.
The new fork corrects the issues.
Okay. So a new direction that they're going.
Yes.
A way of doing it or dealing with it.
Yes.
Or offering it or however they're doing. Okay.
And it's like it replaces the old path is less important once this new fork occurs.
So instead of seeing drops, we should see rises in Bitcoin Cash then?
Yes.
Okay. Now, we've gotten some information, I think, from the remote viewers that they see Digibyte really taking off here in the next several years. Perhaps not right away, but in the next couple years.
We have always seen this.
What can we expect?
Digibyte will be standing when most others will no longer be around.
So it's a long haul coin then. What can we expect for Digibyte in January with this rise? Will it do better?
We see it continuing to go up, much more slowly than most would like, but steady upward overall growth. They're saying you must have patience with this one. The rise is there and can be counted on.
We want to thank Abby for that question.
It will be like having gold in the bank.
Now, Backseat Driver is asking to get a little more information on Polkadot. Can we look at Polkadot and see how it performs in this next rise in 2021?
It looks like it's still going up in this next quarter. Doesn't appear to be failing. We see this as a technology that is supporting another technology. So we see it strong in the future.
Duke is asking about Bitcoin Black. That's been sort of off the radar for quite a while. What can you tell us about Bitcoin Black?
As we have said before, we like the concept of Bitcoin Black, but we still see it's not quite ready yet.
So that's one that's going to take quite a while to gain traction?
It will take a while. We don't know that we would say quite a while. We just say it is not quite ready yet.
Is that one that a person could buy and hold and still come out later on? Is it going to survive long enough to be worth anything in the long term?
We say yes. It's just not the right time yet. Their glory comes later.
Collins Lee is asking about the Dune network. Dune?
We see the growth here more lateral rather than vertical. A temporary period of a lot of excitement about this coin, but then it seems to level off and not be as great as what the hype was predicting. We hope this answers your question.
Okay, does it seem like it has a future? I mean, is it going to be one to last very long?
No.
Okay, so all the hype and hope doesn't pan out in the end.
We see a lot of hype, but not a lot of growth.
The next one is Debitum, the Debitum network.
This one has potential in the future. We see significant growth for this. You should see it climbing.
How about in 2021? Will we see?
Throughout most of 2021.
Okay. It looks like it suffered some pumps and dumps in the past. Sharp spikes up and then spiking down just as quickly. And then now lately it's been leveling off.
Yes, but it will begin to come into its own. We see it becoming more popular and more adaptable, and as such it continues to grow. It's on a good trajectory, coming up fairly quickly.
Okay. Geoffrey is asking about Wanchain, WANCHAIN for 2021. What can we expect for Wanchain?
This one is falling into some kind of disfavor and losing. It's like it's being gathered all together into a bucket, and the bucket is pouring it all out. It can't hold it once and tips, pouring it all out on the ground where it is spread out and worthless. Like water pouring into the ground, dissolves into the ground and disappears.
Would that signify its value being diluted or going down?
Yes, we do not feel good at this one.
Okay, well, it's had a 108% rise in this year. It's a kind of a steady
We see that it
increase.
has collected much value,
Mm-hmm.
but then it is being poured out onto the ground and lost.
Okay, well, that's one to be careful of then, I guess.
We would say so.
Val is asking about Orchid Protocol. Orchid?
We like this. This should show some potential this year. When we say this year, we mean the next 12 months. There should be growth with this one.
Yeah, right now it's lost quite a bit. It looks like back in August it was about 70 cents, and now it's down to about 26. So
this one should resume its upward growth and surpass where it was at before.
okay, well, that's good.
We see steady rises in the future.
Okay. Rafal Scora is asking about Monero. How does Monero look for the next 12 months or going into the new year?
We see Monero holding its own, but that's all we can say. It's holding its own.
Well, right now it's in a pretty steep rise. It's heading for the 50% mark of its last major move. Will it continue to gain?
It will gain some, but it will not fall. It holds its own.
Okay.
We do not see it failing. We see steady growth.
Okay, I guess what people would want to know is what does it mean to hold its own? Does that mean that it'll get to a certain point and then level out and not gain, or gain more slowly? What does that mean? What's the feeling you get there as far as
it means it's not falling down. It is not failing.
Okay, so it continues to gain in value then. But
yes, it gains in value, but it doesn't go straight up.
Right.
It's steady upward gain.
Okay.
Dependable gain.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
It's not an undependable coin, in other words. It's dependable. It holds its own.
Okay. Yeah, back in January of 2018, it was pretty spiky. It spiked quite a bit, but then since December 2018, it's been more from December 18 to December 19. It pretty much traded sideways overall. It was the same in January as it was December, but then since then
it has stabilized.
Right, it's stabilized and
it's not going to be super volatile any longer.
Okay. So
it's become dependable.
So since March of 2020, it's just been a steady riser up to this point. So we should continue to see.
Yes.
Okay, that's what I wanted to get. A little more clarification.
Steady rise.
Okay, well that looks good then. The next one is called Kick, K-I-C-K token, Kick.
This one's not a strong contender, but it has great possibilities.
Well, it's been trading sideways for quite a long time. Can we expect to see any gains with this? So far, it's lost about 90% in 1 year.
It looks like it's possible still to turn and go upwards fairly significantly. It's riskier than many others, but the possibility of good gains in the future is still there.
Would that be later? It's broke a very key support line. Would that be later?
See, it's on the verge of beginning an upward move.
Okay, is that one that a person can hold? I mean, is it something that's going to last? There's a lot of optimism about this coin, but it really hasn't done anything for a long time.
As far as lasting for many years, no. It has possibilities. As of now, those possibilities are not completely set.
So it's a little more risky.
Can be worth the risk.
Yeah, it's 0.00007 of a cent. So
Yes.
I guess if you're going to play fractions, I guess that would be one. So
It's one we would say is risky, but could be worth the risk.
short term, for short term gains,
For
maybe.
a couple of years, maybe.
And another one, the last one he is asking about is Cloak Coin, CLOAKCOIN, Cloak.
Looks like Cloak has had a lot of ups and downs, but
Yeah, you're right
lot-
there.
a lot are looking into this for different purposes in the future. So we still see this coin surviving and has potential for growth in its specific area. But more and more people are beginning to see its value and taking an additional look at it. And if they do so, this will push its value up even more.
Yeah, I know you don't know anything about this coin, but it's when you say it's had a lot of ups and downs, that's very true. It's had some really strong spikes, little pumps and dumps. I'm not sure what else to call them. A huge spike up and a
We see it
spike
stronger
down.
and more stable in the future. Again, as people are realizing the value of its technology, more are looking into using the technology. More people, it's spiking interest. As it does so, then it will increase in value and become more, not necessarily stable, but more solid,
Okay, more trustworthy, more stable.
more dependable as an investment, yes.
In the past, it spiked to $30 back in 2018, and then it leveled out at $15 for a long time. Right now, it's about 12 cents. So it has potential to make money. Is it going to last a while?
We think it will last. As we said, there are many looking into its value past. More and more interest being shown in this coin. See, been very up and down in the past. We do not see this up and down motion so much in the future, but more of a steady, gradual upward turn as its value becomes more appreciated. Not just the value of the coin, but the value of the technology the coin represents.
Collins Lee is asking about Orion protocol. Orion?
This one looks like it will have good success in the future. Very good energies with this one. A lot of expansion with this one.
Now Orion is issuing a new coin, and they're swapping over to it 1-to-1. Will this swap increase its value?
We would say yes, but it's moving in a different direction with two different purposes. Both are growing. The original grows faster formation, but both will grow.
And of course, we can't do a crypto view without looking at Bitcoin. Now, Bitcoin has exceeded its all-time high of 2018 to $23,051. Will it continue to rise to new highs?
We see it continuing to rise throughout the year, yes.
Okay. Overall, for 2021, does that year feel like an optimistic year of things?
It is a turning point for cryptos. We'll see more overall growth in cryptos in 2021 than ever before. The rate of growth is higher than you will see in subsequent years after, but there will continue to be rises. We would see overall it is a good year for cryptos.
And how about the year in general, as far as...
We see a lot of upheaval, a lot of not so much fighting, just a lot of change. Many people moving, not in a negative way, but making changes in their lives to facilitate the changes they wish to have in their lives. Making plans, putting those plans to work. People who have just taken things for granted in the past, being a little more careful about the changes and the plans that they make. They're thinking through them and deciding they don't like this about them, they don't like that, and they're taking the actions to make the changes that they want. So it's going to be a year of uprooting in some ways, but in other ways, laying down of their future life. It's the breakaway into the life they desire to have versus the life they have had. They're making changes to move forward towards the life they choose. We see this as a positive, but definitely a lot of upheaval because of people making these changes. Changing where they live, changing their work. Not a year of a lot of stability per se, because there's so much movement taking place. So there's a lot of changes and movement taking place in government, but also in the private sector with individuals. The individuals making changes are also pushing the government to make suitable changes. At the same time that we see all these revolutionary, reactionary changes taking place in people's lives, we also see a movement towards renewed stability, reward for hard work, reward for taking risks and chances. The overall mood, even though it may be serious, is also hopeful.
Will businesses start to recover this coming year as the COVID...
Many businesses have shut down permanently, but businesses that have managed to survive have the ability to continue and rebuild. Other new businesses will spark up. There may even be easier and additional incentives put into place to encourage and make it easier for people to start new businesses.
Will the cruise line industry do better next year in 2021? Will it start to recover?
Probably not so much until maybe 2022. We see people thinking more about stabilizing their lives and securing their future versus taking cruises. Cruise lines will have to be very competitive in order to bring back the interest for 2022 and 2023 will be much better for the travel industry. 2021 shows travel mostly has to do with people moving and checking out places to move to rather than travel for just vacation purposes.
So overall, 2021 will be a little more optimistic, a little more,
Yes. People are feeling free to move forward with their lives, less encumbered, less restricted, will not tolerate severe restrictions to their movements.
Do we still see some unrest when it becomes apparent that Trump has won the presidency and that he's going to be reelected?
Of course, those who oppose him will, some of them, rise up and protest and fight back, as they have done before. But this time will be different, and they will be put down rather quickly.
Okay.
People are rebelling against those protesters. They will not have favor any longer. They will be shut down. People want to look forward and make life better. This is the mood that is happening.
So does Spirit have anything they'd like to say to our listeners for this coming year?
Do not give up. Do not lose hope. Stay focused. Visualize in your minds at all time the future you desire, and you will see it begin to materialize before your eyes, your experience. This will be a year of opening up opportunities, of waking up. You will see many changes taking place in those who control the media. You will see many news anchors and commentators leave. Either they will change their rhetoric and direction, or they will be gone. You will begin to see different attitudes coming out of the media establishments.
Will these big tech companies end their censorship? Will they be forced to?
They will be forced to.
Is there anything else?
That is all for now.
Okay. Well, we want to thank the guides for giving us a peek into the future and some optimistic news. And in our next session, we'll take a closer look at some of the cryptos that are struggling right now, the top 100 that seem to be sagging when other cryptos are gaining. So that's sort of an interesting development. And we want to wish you happy holidays and a Merry Christmas. And from Sharon and Jared, we want to thank everyone for sticking with us and being patient with us and understanding our situation. You guys have been really great. So,
and Spirit wishes to add to that.
What's that?
They appreciate the opportunity that you have given to allow Sharon to do this and Jared on a regular basis.
It's given us a lot of practice, especially for you, Sharon, to tune in and to do this. So that's always helpful.
Yes, I was always resistant to world events.
Yeah. Well, we've come to understand that...
unless they pushed it on me.
Yeah, well, we don't live in...
Which they did occasionally.
We don't live in a bubble, everything kind of affects our lives, so even though we don't like politics, you can't deny it doesn't have a huge impact on our lives, and that of the world. I mean, everybody's looking at what happens here in the United States.
The entire world is looking at what is happening here.
Yeah, so if corruption wins the day, then it will definitely embolden the other countries to to try to pull more
They
shenanigans.
truly
So
are the hope of the world.
very interesting. So it looks like Trump is in line to keep going. So that really gives us some hope for the future, and that he'll be able to, with his exposure, to clean things up and defang the beast that has risen up into this.
He gets frustrated, of course. He
Yeah.
gets angry, of course. And sometimes he questions, why did I put myself through this? But deep down, he knows why. And he's doing his best to stay on point and continue.
I can't imagine the pressure he must be feeling and concern for his welfare and that of his family and his empire, his interests.
More than anyone could imagine.
Can you imagine getting up every morning and having to face this day after day after day after day? I just don't know how he does it. Okay.
He is exceptional. That's why he was chosen.
Well, we want to thank Spirit for giving
We
him.
would say he was pushed.
Well, we want to thank Spirit for giving him the strength and the protection he needs from assassination and threats and whatever else is being thrown at him. And we want to also ask Spirit to protect and oversee those who are fighting with him, the Trump attorneys and those who are patriots.
Yes.
And keep them safe too.
We are with them all.
Okay, well, thank you everyone, and until next time, be well.
Thank you.
This concludes our December 22nd channel session. Stay tuned for our fireside chat video where Sharon and Jared will discuss several current topics of interest. From Sharon and Jared, we wish you love, light, and clarity. Happy holidays, everyone.
Shot a dog.